Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. If this is your first time tuning in, hi, hello, welcome, thank you. Get on up in here. Please follow us on YouTube at Inappropriate Radio TV. Alright. No periodic table or alien talk. But you already know the creator came through with a message, right? So I was sitting here like, okay, this is going to be our last, segment for the autism series. And then the creator corrected me. And he said, no. Tonight is not the last night, all right? But he did drop something in my spirit, okay? I was sitting there like, okay, what is, the topic going to be about this evening? Like I've shared with you guys before, a lot of the times I'll get downloads and it'll be enough to last us for a week, 2 weeks, a month, shit, right? And then a lot of those things just sit in my spirit. They don't necessarily get recorded, right? Not everything gets recorded. So I then have to decipher if it is for me or the podcast. And we talked about this, right? I'll get certain ways and messages to find out what it is for, right? What the message is for. If it's for me or the podcast, or just to share with people in my personal life, right? And he revealed that all of this time we've been going over autism, that there were more questions, right? A lot of the downloads that come aren't usually questions. So many anyway. Maybe he'll have a question that he's posing for us. Maybe, we'll have a question that we would like to answer. If there is something that is going on in the world, we can easily look it up, right? But the series was comprised of a lot of questions. So I'm like, okay, wait, Daddy, you're not giving me the answers, right? And he's like, the answers to these questions are, starting points. I'm not an expert. And like I said, I apologize in advance. I had already apologized in advance to people who had, autistic children or were connected to them in one way or another, right? I had already apologized. So what I understood was that going in, there were going to be people who didn't like this conversation. They weren't really necessarily appreciative of this conversation. I hope by now you understand that my intentions are always going to be for the highest vibration. I'm never intending to harm. I mean, of course, if I'm protecting myself and you coming at me, that's something different. But I'm saying in terms of my approach and the messages that are being put out, these are actual downloads from the ethers. We've gone over this, right? And then I heard signs and wonders, right? Now we all know what a sign and a wonder is. We know. So I'm like, okay, what? Like, I don't even talk like that. That's like Bible talk, Christian talk. Now I know a lot of the things that I say, it sounds very Christian-like. And that's because a lot of my listeners, they are Bible readers. They may not necessarily have an active Christian life, but a lot of the people who listen, they're very familiar with Bible jargon, right? Jargon that is associated with Christianity. So, and I would assume that a lot of Muslims, they understand what I'm saying too, right? And they can understand the difference, obviously. But that's just for that, okay? Now, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, sign and wonders, okay? Like, Well, I don't need to look that up. We don't really need to go over that. We know what that is. But then he still made me look it up anyway, because there are different references as to what a sign and a wonder is, and they are two different things, right? And to just sum it up, right, in short, autistic people are a sign and a wonder. They are proof of the existence. Now, we've had talk about several conversations actually about this being an end result of some bloodlines that are not supposed to be interacting. This is, and these were downloads that I had gotten, not questions. They are a product of magic, whether it's magic that has backfired, whether it is magic that has been thrown at the mom, the bloodline, or the child, or if they're just in the way, meaning they're connected to someone who's being attacked, right? Or war is being waged against them. Or if they themselves are dabbling in things to create the child, and this is just one of those things that came up, right? It wasn't I guess successful. I guess it would be successful, right? Because you still got the life created. Whatever the conditions are, it still is a sign that there is power beyond the natural, beyond the physical. Now, we're all going to be able to interpret and dissect that many different ways. I myself know that people who are parents of autistic children, they wish that they could be able to understand and communicate with their children better, or there was a long journey, right, to create some sort of corridor for communication, right? That right there within itself, between language, between behavior, between perception, between what other diagnoses may be going on, if there are any, right? And this is just with respect to the entire condition, Asperger's, autism, whatever. Let's just throw all of the neurodivergent. I want to specifically, single out autism, but just for the sake of this conversation, let's just throw in all of the neurodivergent individuals, not just Asperger's and autism, whatever may fall under that. You can look it up, right? Now, there are several conditions that have different symptoms and affects, right? But they're all under this one umbrella. So, number one, obviously there are people who are doing research, right? They get to find out what makes them the same and what makes them different. And this is how they get the terms. This is how they get the names, right? Whether it's the doctor who discovered it, whatever, the location it was found, it doesn't matter. However it goes. This is communication. This is communication. This is ancestral communication. I'm not sure which segment, but in the midst of us doing this series, we did have talk about that, right? About this possibly being a result, and when I say this, I mean autism is possibly a result of ancestors, right? DNA attaching to their descendants. And then we talked about, the 2 degrees of separation and all of that good shit, right? In full, the main thing that needs to occur is a full dissection of each in every single one. And I mean, this is if you are invested enough, because it is affecting you in some kind of a way, whether you're just trying to learn, whether it's, your job, whatever. You have to be able to dissect these things on a molecular level. And what is it? It is a manipulation or some sort of alteration of the genetic sequence. So we're back at that, right? We're back at that. We've been having this talk since day one, okay? About how we are connected to our ancestors, and our genetic link is that story. It tells the story of the connection. It is proof of you being connected to something that has come before you, right? Some of us can put a face and a name on it. Some of us can't. In a location. Now, in the midst of me thinking of all the questions, because we didn't go over all of the questions, right, that had come up. We don't have enough time. These are just 15-minute segments. On top of, not everything is for the podcast. Like, I'm going to keep saying that. Some things are not for the podcast. And with that said, the things we did discuss were for the people who listen to have whatever type of understanding they're going to have, whatever they research based off of the conversation that we had during that segment. And moving forward, we'll be able to build off of that. My own research is my own research for my own thing. The podcast now is for those broad conversations. It's to set up and create a space where we can bring these things to the forefront and look at all of these topics from a, once again, scientific, psychological, social, spiritual perspective, right? We need to be looking at these things from all of those angles, because there is no proof, no real reason. I mean, we have symptoms, we have research, but nothing has been solidified, right? There are tons of ways to keep yourself in alignment by observing, because let's just say autistic people are a new breed of people, or let's just say they are results or products, if you will, of different ancestors mating with their descendants. That would be the same. That would be parallel, rather, to the concept of not mating with someone. You don't have to be related to them. It's just you weren't supposed to mix your blood with theirs, right? Those are in the same ballpark. Okay? Follow me. Let's just throw those three things out there. They're a new race. You either weren't supposed to mix the blood because it's not what the creator intended. It's not on a vibrational genetic level match, or because they're your descendants. However, they're your ancestors. However it goes, right? This is a phenomenon that even some of the best technology can't explain. So it goes back to this again. When we see the factor of no explanation, and if you know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know, right? There are things that are occurring with no real explanation. That's spiritual, okay? That is another level. That is a different frequency, a different vibration, a different dimension, okay? You have to make sure you are focused. Pay attention to them. They're telling us a story. All right, but I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. I hope you guys are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. I love y'all. Peace.